You think Vikings, right? They're probably just dudes with long, beautiful hair, just yelling with their axes, raiding stuff, right? Well, that's really not the full story. I've been doing some research. I've noticed they were farming, fishing, trading, styling their hair, into love. Like, can you believe Vikings being in love? If you haven't seen the show Vikings, I am obsessed with this show. It's amazing. You guys, watch this.
Who are these strangers?
Different. And used axes. Most were as tall as giants.
I have never in my life seen men fight as these Northmen fight.
Who are they?
We captured 2 of them who were guarding their boat. We couldn't understand anything they said at all, except one word. Ragnar.
Ragnar! Yo! He's beautiful.
So there you are, brother.
So, this show has inspired me so much that's my recent hyper focus, okay? Vikings and their families mostly lived in small villages that were near the coast. Oh, duh, because they sailed the sea. Despite their reputation as brave warriors and terrifying raiders, the Vikings spent most of their time farming and fishing. Vikings grew wheat to make bread and beer, haha, huzzah, huzzah, and raised animals as sheep, pigs, and cattle. Poor little sheeps. The seas were very important to the Viking life, and fishing provided a big part of the Viking diet. Damn, they probably had so much salmon. I wonder if they had salmon. Living their life near the sea had other benefits. The Vikings were excellent sailors and easier for them to travel by boat than land. It was very important as Vikings often had to travel a great distance to trade, which is insane because in the show, you see like how they travel and how they make the boats and stuff, and then how they traveled by the sun. Like, I don't know if that's true. Viking navigators used celestial entities, what I don't know what that says, I hope it says it right, like the sun to find their geographic orientation during oceanic expeditions. You know what's insane? That I can't do that. I can't look at that. Can we figure, is this like an important skill to learn? East, west, north, south, figure out the sun movements to know where the hell you're traveling. And then on top of that, like, using the stars as your navigator to travel is insane. But all of us here are just using GPSs and have like a little monkey brain and don't know where we're going. What is it like in a Viking home? Probably very smelly. I probably don't want to smell a Viking home. It probably smells like cow manure. Probably smells like cow manure. I don't think they showered. Did Vikings shower? They bathe at least once a week. That is disgusting. We all know that you should be bathing or showering once a day or twice. Twice. If you're a smelly gal or girl and you do things, you should be showering more than once, right? Contrary to popular belief, the Vikings place a significant emphasis on personal hygiene and cleanliness. They bathe at least once a week, which is frequent compared to the Europeans at the time. Ooh, that's right, the Europeans didn't bathe? During the Middle Ages, people in Europe generally did not bathe frequently. Disgusting. Bathing was considered a luxury and a privilege for the upper class. That's even more insane. The fact that the classes exist, which is crazy. Although peasantry generally did not bathe very often, many Europeans did wash themselves regularly. Europeans kept their teeth clean by rubbing them with twigs and chalk. They had thick walls made from wood and mud and roofs that were layered with thick tufts and grass. I'm pretty sure it smelled like doo-doo cake. Most homes would be quite small as only wealthy could afford big homes. How small are we talking about? There was no toilets or running water in the winter. Viking families shared their homes with their animals. Oh, hell no. It smelled like doo-doo cake in there. Can you imagine? Waking up and rolling over and then your pet sheep, Bob is just there chilling? They would have been very smelly, you see? What was life like for the Vikings? Life in Viking village was shaped by the seasons and everyone had a role in making sure there was enough food to eat. During summer months, male Vikings would form raiding parties and sail across seas to raid settlements or monasteries as Lana and Lisa Diffrain to carry off the gold and treasure so they could get their hands on. While the men were raiding, it was the women and children who looked after the farming. Crops had been planted, watered, and harvested. Women and girls will also spin wool, thread, and make cloth. Man, it's so hard to live. Like, can you imagine being thrown into the Viking century? Like, if you wake up right now, dude, in a Viking home, like, and you're a man, you have to go raiding. You don't have a choice. And if you're a woman, you have to do these things because you don't have a choice either. And if you're by yourself, you'll probably die. So you have no choice but to be smelly and old and probably die at the age of 30. You literally have to wake up every day and survive. And then this day and age, right? This day and age in America, I can only vouch for America. You wake up and you go to work. And if you don't go to work, you don't have money. And if you don't have money, you don't live. And you know, I can't say that like we don't have it better. Pretty sure if a Viking like woke up in this day and age and they were like, oh my god, Min's a VTuber. What is a VTuber? What is the internet? What is these things? And then like we're on our mobile devices, and I call it mobile because it's kind of funny if you call it like that. But you're on your cell phone for hours on end, and I can't speak for everybody, but you know, there's people who are on their phone for hours on end. Just scrolling through TikTok. Listen, man, I have about an hour and a half screen time on TikTok, and I still press ignore. Ignore that limit. Anyway, that's insane. It says it was a tough life. That was the last letter, the last sentence of this website, which I agree, it was a tough life. Okay, let's find out also about their religion, because I'm very curious about what they believed in. The Vikings have multiple gods. Like, why was that never an option? If you were to tell me, hey, little minstinks, there's a gods with 2 S's, and there's like 10 of them, I'll be like, whoa, there's 10? And then it just makes it more interesting. Viking religion, it was very interesting in the show. And Freya is a woman god, and that is freaking cool.
Well, within Norse mythology, we know about the Norse gods, and this is one of the main factors here. This is what a lot of people get into, and it's understanding the gods of Odin, Thor, Loki, Freya, Frigg, Hel, Heimdall. There's many different gods. But there's also the ancestors, your personal ancestors and the ancestors of Scandinavia. And then there's also the spirits of the land, the spirits of the sea, of the sky. Now, as far as the who as well, who are the people that worship these ancient beings? Well, we're talking mostly about Scandinavia, which includes Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Iceland. And then you have the...
Bro, that's so cool. Tell me that's not cool. Tell me that's not the coolest thing you ever heard in your entire life.
But now we're getting into the win of Norse paganism as well. And the Viking Age is definitely what most people know, but it's important to remember this is the end of the pagan beliefs, the heathen era. It's very important to remember that these beliefs go much further back into time. Also within the who section, I want to mention that the people who practice this belief today, many of them, of course, are in Scandinavia, but there are many people, if not more people, now worshiping these ancient gods and practicing these beliefs outside of Scandinavia, mostly in America, the Americas in general, and...
Put it back where it goes, because, you know, like, we all, not in a bad way, you know, belief to your own, but it originated there. It should be celebrated there. But then you can say the same thing about Christianity. Isn't Christianity also in Europe? Like, and then the whole entire world has Christianity. It's insane.
And into the rest of Europe, especially the UK. Now we're running out of time, so now we need to talk about why. Why would you be interested in this in the first place? Why does it benefit us now if it, you know, something that really mostly died hundreds of years ago? Well, I think a lot of people get into Norse paganism today and heathenry because of the mythology.
Heathenries. And he's biting it on the bud. The richness of the mythology, it is amazing to have all these different gods. Thor, Odin, and Freya, who would be sacrificed to, respectively, the times of blight and disease and war at weddings. Thor was a god of strength and wielded a hammer. Odin, being the god of battle, alone could give the victory or defeat. Frey's image had an oversized penis. Oh my god. As he was a god of fertility. Odin's servants were Valkyrie, female entities who conducted these warriors slain in battle to Valhalla to feast in Odin's great hall until Ragnarok. I hope I said that right. Okay, vibe. The Vinland Saga vibes. Let's look up Vinland Saga. I know Vinland Saga, but I have never watched it.
Long ago, I got on in life by slaughtering people. But one day I suddenly wanted no part of it any longer. I didn't want to kill or get killed. A warship has come. A great war is trudging its way forward. And the time for us warriors has come.
Yo, I'm actually hyped. Chat, you did it. You made Min's convert. I'm gonna watch this. I'm only 45 seconds in. I'm gonna watch this. Let's learn about their love life, shall we? Should we learn about how Vikings fell in love, guys? Okay, I'm gonna give you the tea, okay? If you're gonna watch Vikings, like the show on Netflix, then just skip this segment. Like, just skip it. Just mute me. I don't know what to tell you. Just for the next 2 minutes or so, okay? It's just 2 minutes. You have a guy and you have a girl. They have a family. They're beautiful, right? But then the guy goes raiding, and then he finds another woman. Shocker. And then she likes him, and then they do the nasty, and they're like, oh my god, whatever. And then he gets her pregnant. So then she comes back. She, as in the mistress, comes back to the village saying, oh my god, I'm pregnant. And then he's like, holy moly, I got 2 women now that are basically with my children, right? Because his initial wife had a child. He's like, okay, well, maybe we could have a poly relationship where there's 2 women, 2 wives, and one husband. And one of the original wife, the original woman was like, no, I'm not dealing with this. I'm leaving, because she felt like their relationship was not good. Like, he obviously, cheated on her, or, had slept with someone else. So she didn't feel like there was no point of her being there. And she even felt embarrassed by it. Okay. So it kind of seems like, if you think about it, it kind of makes the sense. Like, even in America today, or even in modern times, like, if you have a relationship with someone and then someone sleeps with someone else, you're going to feel some type of way, right? And then relationships evolve and change over time. The reason why I'm telling you this is because the second wife, right? He has a family with her now. And then he went raiding. And then the initial story that I just told you, where she found another man and she ended up cheating on him, is like, the whole point is what I'm trying to tell you, is that relationships seem fleeting, kind of, in a way, and then like the reality of relationships and being like a husband and wife, it seems difficult during that time, and even this time, like in modern day era. So can you imagine, as a Viking, you have a child, you have a family, and you still get jealous, and you're still like, man, I have a family, and like, you're over there cheating. I don't know, I just find it like fascinating, because it just shows you how emotional humans really are, and how human you really are to feel threatened by another person. And on top of that, the natural progression of relationships, because I feel like once you first start a relationship, it could be really good for like 5 years, maybe 3 years, 2 years, whatever. But after a certain point, when you have kids, or when you get married, or when you're there for 10 years and life kind of dwindles and it becomes regular and boring, and or not just boring, but like problems, like the second couple, the second wife that he had, the main issue was their parenting styles were not the same. That was like the main issue. So that's why she cheated on him in the first place. So the reason why I bring this up is because the guy she cheated, let's call her Gwenda. Okay, Gwenda was like, oh my god, this guy is here for me because my husband doesn't like the way I'm raising my son, right? Chad, I'm gonna call him Chad because that's what he is at this moment. Chad's like, don't worry, like, I understand that your husband is not like taking care of you and doesn't love you, and I'm here to make you feel better, and I love your son, right? It's not that the husband didn't love the son, he just felt a certain way about him, and her parenting style was not like the best way. Regardless, Regardless, Yap session is in session. Gwenda, right, and Chad had like a season fling. She was so excited to see him. And then Chad ended up having a threesome with a bunch of other girls from the village. Like the Vikings had a threesome. Chad had a threesome with the Vikings, the women Vikings, right? And then Gwenda finds out, and Gwenda is so pissed off. Gwenda's like, oh my god, how can you have sex with other women? You know, and they're not even together. They're just like a seasonal fling, right? And he's like, I have sex with any woman who needs me, right? That was his like way of like telling her. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what the hell is going on here, right? But it's like, it's so human to feel connected to someone and then not want the bond to be broken. But then time is inevitable and things change. So this is why I'm really curious about learning the love life of Vikings. Because did they have threesomes? I don't know. Maybe. Did they have multiple wives? Possibly. We're gonna find out, guys. Important aspects of a Viking's relationship. Marriage. Marriage was a central part of Viking culture and had both social and economic importance. Duh. Relationships. Romantic and family relationships were often shaped by social norms and rituals. Family structure. Family structure was complex. Played a role in their daily life of the Vikings. Okay. Norse mythology. Norse mythology strongly influenced ideas about love and relationships. Thank you for that website. Okay, look. So marriages were often aligned and strengthened to improve social status, like any other marriage that it was back in the day. Like even in England and all those other time periods, or like before England was a thing, Northumbria, whatever, you would just marry off to the person's family, and that's been going on forever. I think it's stopped now, kind of, maybe not. I don't know. I'm pretty sure in other parts of the world we still do that. The role of woman was just as important as a man. Both sexes had specific tasks and duties within the marriage. You mean like a woman having a child and birthing a son, and the man just, I don't know what he's doing. What is the man doing? Women could own property, run a business, and divorce in the Viking era. Haha. These rights enable them to play an active role in society and support their families. Okay, great. What about marriage? Actual wedding ceremonies took place outdoors and was constructed by a priest or a tribal elder. Blessing of the gods and the ancestors. Vikings did not necessarily have multiple partners. While in theory, Viking could have many wives as he wanted, most only had one because that's all they could afford. It is not as straightforward and involves a mix of historical interceptions. I mean, that makes sense. You would have to like have a lot of money to support the wife, right? There is no recording Vikings sharing their wives. If anything, the available evidence suggests that Viking men of high status often have several female partners apart from their wives, so like mistresses. Okay, Vikings did not share wives. The idea that they did is relatively a moralizing conceptions of later historians. So they did not share wives, but did they have multiple sex partners? Probably. I'm gonna say yes. Let's have a fun fact corner as we wrap this episode up, okay? Their mostly treasured weapon was the sword, often named and inscribed with runes. That's cool. The English names for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday come from references of 3 Viking gods. What? Odin's Day, Thor's Day, and Freya Day. That is so cool. 35% of the male population of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden are descendant from Vikings. That is so freaking cool. Yo, shout out to all my Norway, Denmark, and Sweden people. Your ancestors are probably Vikings. How do you feel? How do you feel? That's so freaking cool. Also, I'm starting something new. It's gonna be called the Comment Corner. So Comment Corner is I read a comment from last week's episode. So we got a couple comments. So I'm gonna read the last comment. The last episode we had was the dark history behind Studio Ghibli's more heartbreaking films. And the first comment I'm gonna read is right here, right in front of me. One day ago, we got Joel. I'm late, but at least I can see some of this. My favorite show. Yo, shout out to Joel Gaynor. If you want to be featured in the comment corner, just gotta comment on the next video, and then maybe on the live stream, I'll say your comment out, buddies. What do you think about that one, buddies? Did you like that?